Another year is ending, and like many other years, we are about to bid farewell to the year 2024. 2024 was a year of remarkable achievements and significant challenges, as some good and bad and many unprecedented events kept us on our toes. Worldwide, the year was marked by a historic number of elections, and according to Carnegie's Global Protest Tracker, more than 160 significant anti-government protests erupted around the world, many of them driven by voting grievances. 2024 was largely dominated by the wars in Ukraine, Gaza, and recently Syria, leading to the downfall of Assad's family half-a-century rule. At the same time, without sufficient global attention, the wars in Democratic Republic of Congo and Sudan intensified. But it was not all gloomy, as the Paris Summer Olympics dazzled the world with extraordinary athletic performances, and many women and young girls continued to use their resources, energy, and power to effect change. Hello everyone, and welcome to Our Voices. I am Simegnish, and I'm joined by my co-host Auriane Itangishaka and Ginny Niwa. Today we will be reviewing major events of 2024 that had profound impact on women and girls on the continent, and we will look at the remarkable efforts of women who continue to demand change and progress despite the hardships they face. Hello, ladies.
Hello. 2025.
So, coming up, only a few days before we welcome the new year. And I remember at the beginning of last year, we had shared our personal resolutions, right? So, looking back, how did you do? Let me start with you, Jenny. What was it like, 2024?
I remember saying that I wanted to be intentionally happy, and it worked.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it
Congratulations.
worked. Thank you. Yeah, every time, tell that to myself, do not stress myself, and I see it around me, how people can take things personally, how they can spaz out. So, sometimes it's your universe, people around you that will teach you, and, to do things differently. So I can say it worked. Yeah.
I should make that my resolution next
year.
Yes.
My resolution was also to spend time with family, and I did that as well. But when you would look at our shows that we went throughout the whole year, some of you guys might not know, but we had a different look background. We changed that. We had a different host. And just different things that changed throughout Our Voices program, but it was all well, and I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to more.
It was, I guess, another successful year for Our Voices. Yes. And at a personal level, I was trying to give more attention to my mental and physical health, and I can say partly I was successful. I significantly reduced sugar, especially chocolate. But I still need to, bring exercise as part of my habit, which I probably will push to next year.
I'm with you on that.
Exactly. But unfortunately, 2024 was highly dominated by the news and new and intensified conflicts and crises that are rapidly changing the global landscape. In some of our shows this year, we touched on some of these conflicts, like the one in Sudan and in the Sahel. And because wherever there is a conflict or disaster, girls and women are unfairly the victims. So let's start from the West and the Southern Africa. What was that? What was it like?
You are so right, Simegnish. I want to take us back to 2024's major political changes on the continent, where in Mauritius, what some called most politically transformation imaginable, by some opposition. In Senegal, a very young and fierce opposition candidate won the election. In Ghana, the incumbent political party surprisingly lost. In Botswana, in a historic election lost by the ruling party after 58 years. Just recently in Namibia, we elected the first female president. Africa just kept electing females, This is, really good news for African women and girls. And in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, as some of you already know, officially leaving the economic community of West African states, which is known also as ECOWAS, and forming a new alliance of Sahel states after, French sentiments and their allies citing neo-colonialism policies in the regions and in the world. Also, I enjoyed our coverage on how women in the Sahel have been pulling together and organizing themselves to fight extremism and violence that have plagued their countries. We had a discussion with an outspoken women's rights advocate Coumba Bah on this issue, and this is what some of the things that she had to say about it.
So since 2017, we have been lucky to start a public conversation that we call Musoya. Musoya means womanhood. And we do have also a political once a month, 2 hours we give to political issues, because I strongly believe that women need to have spot at the table, and I think the best way for women to achieve the equality is the political route, because that's decision making, that's really being at the center of core decision making. So we give opportunities for women to come, and also on every single electoral processes, we also give 15 minutes free time to each candidate, any board, so they can come and talk about their agenda. But you know, even though arms are cracking, from 2012 to today, I do not remember one single day where we have not had bloodshed in my country.
Wow.
I don't remember.
That's
every single day we have communiques coming of people dying, civilian and armed forces. And but beside that, when you give power to women to speak, they reivindicate poverty, they reivindicate social, they don't reivindicate, security comes, but security seldom comes as the first priority. They say we want our kids to have school, we want our kids to have opportunity to go to work and not be sitting, because we have a lot of employment issues.
Yes.
We want food for our kids, we want work for our kids, we want dignity for our kids, because if the kids are not working, that's when jihad becomes attractive to them. Because you see, you don't have $300 a month, and the jihad calls you and give you $300 a month.
Yeah, you take it. And what she was saying here is what every woman on the continent is really saying, especially in unstable communities. And I really love the fact that we are able to bring in the French community, the Francophone community that we rarely have. And so the women in the Francophone communities are, you know, really doing much more than we hear on the global stage. So I was happy to have those conversations.
You are right, this is shared by everyone on the continent, especially going through those conflicts. So let's go to the east and see how it is like in Sudan and Congo.
Yeah, we're talking about French-speaking country, unfortunately and sadly in Congo. Little have changed. According to Amnesty International, 7.3 million people have been internally displaced by the conflict in Congo, making it one of the largest displacement crises in the world. This conflict has been going on since 1990s. Women are the main victim of mass rapes and sexual violence. Again, Amnesty in its latest report said 1.5 million women in the country have been raped in their lifetime. Also in the east, talking about Sudan, the war in Sudan that started in April 2023 also continued in 2024 between the army and RSF. About 25 million people, whom over 14 million are children, need humanitarian assistance and support. More than 6.6 million people displaced within Sudan, and 1.8 million fled the country. So
yeah, I'm so glad that we really were able to really drill into the Sudan situation, because it was really not covered at all on the global stage.
But at the same time, we still have women in those countries also still struggling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just like in Congo, it happened in every conflict. Women and children in Sudan are also caught in between and are subjected to conflict-related sexual violence, sexual exploitation, and abuse. But at the same time, they are also organizing themselves and advocating for peace and stability, and we've seen that. Actually, we had an opportunity to invite some of these leaders on our show. One of them is Samah Salman, who is the leader of U.S. Educated Sudanese Association. Let's listen to what she told us.
This is a really important point, and what we know about women's participation, political participation, is that during Sudan's revolution, women formed at times 60 to 70% of protesters. When it comes time to negotiate and political leadership and political decision making, you'll see women's participation at less than 10% at these tables where decisions are made. So historically, women have not had the same investment into their capacity, the capacity of women's organizations, and they're just starting to catch up.
Well, unfortunately, this is not only the case for the East or the Southern or the West Africa. It's also, conflicts are also, major challenge in the Horn. Looking at Ethiopia, for example, armed conflicts continued in 2024 as well between government forces, militias, and non-state groups that are operating within the country, resulting to the loss of life, displacement of millions of people, and economic crisis. In addition to that, a new tension was created this year between Ethiopia and Somalia after Ethiopia signed a deal with the Somaliland to access the port. Somalia was not happy with this deal, so has been threatening, saying that this threatened the sovereignty of the country. So was trying to retaliate by expelling Ethiopian troops from Somalia. But just a few days ago, a new deal was reached between the two countries, brokered by Turkey. So the two countries agreed to resolve this difference diplomatically, which is a good sign we were able to see by the end of 2024. But again, in addition to conflicts, there is also climate change, which also caused disasters like floods, like drought. For example, a big landslide in Ethiopia caused the lives of over 250 people. And also millions were across South Africa were affected by a historic drought, which was never seen before. So countries like Lesotho, Malawi, Namibia, Zambia were all affected by this historic drought. So this was a big issue in the COP meeting, which was held in last November. African countries were hoping to find at least more than $1 million trillion to help them get finance and be able to adapt to this climate change. However, only 300,000 billion agreement was reached, which was a disappointment to many of these African countries, but still it's something they can use going forward. But related to these conflicts, another issue we gave extensive coverage to in this year's show was, as we said goodbye to the 2024, is gender-based violence. We discussed how women are used as weapon of war during conflicts. We looked at harmful practices like breast ironing and looked more deeper into domestic violence by intimate partners.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. This past year, we did do a lot of gender-based violence. I mean, some of the shows just sounded like the same, but it was the different kinds of violence that are against women and girls that we covered. We covered sexual harassment, we covered, gender-based violence in general, of course, with last November to December, the 16 days of gender-based violence, where we had a guest, Fauzia Ali, who talked to us about how to incorporate peacemaking and gender-based violence and how those intertwine when there's no peace. Of course, as you know, in the Congo and other places, gender-based violence increase. So that was something that we're always going to keep talking about to see how women and girls can come out of life of despair.
Yeah, another surprising point that came out from these shows that even though we have been talking about gender-based violence over the years, the number seems to be, staggering. Like it's not decreasing. Many and more women are becoming victims of sexual violence.
That's really something that's really shocking. Like we think we're getting better, but we're taking 5 steps backwards. But I think, like you said, it's really the conflicts that are increasing that gender-based violence is increasing. It's not really so much, the society going bad, I think, in that regards.
Well, talking about laws, we did a show at the beginning of the year about domestic violence, and to understand the serious consequence of domestic violence on women's mental and physical health, we had invited Mildred Muhammad, domestic violence survivor, who was married to the deceased sniper John Allen Muhammad. Let's hear what she told us.
Oh yeah, my life was, I knew that. He was an 84th combat engineer. He knew, he was a hand-to-hand expert combat. He was an expert shot. So yeah, I knew, because his motto was, one shot, one kill to the head, never leave an enemy behind. He already said I was his enemy. He was going to kill me. The problem was I couldn't get anybody to believe me because he was in the community. People knew him. They didn't know me because I was always at home. He was the one bringing the money home, like you said. So financially, I was dependent upon him. So when I tried to get help, he told me, he said, I'm going to fix it to where no one will believe anything you say about me. And that's exactly what happened. I went to tell people, which I call the touch test, where you're going out and I said, you know, John is really treating me really bad. He's talking to me like, and they say, well, he wouldn't do that. You automatically took the side of the abuser. Yeah. That's how fast it works. As soon as I talk to you and you say, well, John wouldn't do that, you took his side. Now you're going to go back and tell him, now I'm in trouble.
It was a very important guest to have, I think, to have, you know, her view and her story. Also, when it comes to law protection for women, sometimes existing laws are not enough. We recently had a show discussing unfair laws that for foreigners, inequality in Africa, where you can have laws, but unfortunately they are not implemented.
Right.
So
and a lot of times, and I think one of the shows was on in Zimbabwe and Zambia, where they were talking about, you know, the laws are there, but the resources are not there. Women have laws, but they don't have resources like lawyers and things like that to back up the laws and help them. Today we're highlighting the political, social, economic, and lifestyle trends that shaped Africa in 2024. It is now time for a quick break. When we come back, we will continue our conversation and look at some of the most extraordinary women we featured on our shows. But we also love to hear from you on our social media platforms as usual. Please share with us which one of your shows inspired you and the most that made impact in your life. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, X, formerly known as Twitter. And use the handle VOA Africa, use the hashtag VOA Our Voices. We will be right back.
In times of change, when the world seems uncertain and what we hear doesn't reflect what we see, we seek the truth. When we are told only part of the story, we lose trust. In moments of crisis, our dreams, hopes, and wishes for a better tomorrow depends on a free press. At Voice of America, we bring you the stories that people take risks to see. We connect the world and unite it with truth. At Voice of America, we show you the whole picture.
You're watching VOA's Red Carpet. My name is Jackson Vunganyi. Thank you so much for joining us each week right here on Red Carpet. We bring you the latest in
health, wellness, sport, beauty, medical breakthroughs. Healthy Living cares about your well-being. What are the main health concerns in Africa and around the world? Find out the latest on coronavirus. Connect with our experts and ask them questions.
How long does the virus stay?
Join me, Linor Moudou, in Washington, every week on Healthy Living, right here on VOA.
Welcome back. You are with Our Voices as the world prepares to welcome the new year 2025. We are reviewing the past 12 months, looking at events that shaped the continent and reflecting on some of the influential women who use their resources to make a difference.
That's right, Ginny. And as we do every year, Our Voice team in 2024 also focused on bringing fresh interviews and stories from extraordinary women on the continent. And one of the women we highlighted for using their talent to be the voice for the voiceless was Nigerian Hollywood star Chukwuka Akpotha, whom earlier this year was appointed as the new USAID Goodwill Ambassador for Nutrition in Nigeria. Let's hear what she told us.
Most of my followers believe in my craft and they believe in my person.
Unbelievable.
Yes. And so when I bring the nutrition program to them and say, this is what it is, right? Make the right choices for your kids, you know. Healthy living is better food, better life. Right. Healthy living is the best way, is the right path, right? You have to give your children, to give them a healthy start in life, right? And I've gotten positive responses of families and especially mothers with their children who have listened and through the awareness we've created with USAID, how effective these programs have been in their lives.
So it's also very rewarding for you.
Very rewarding and humbling. You know, it's amazing when someone comes to me and says, Choma, you saved my life. Like, you saved my child. This child was about to die. I wasn't giving them the right food. I didn't do this, I didn't do that. But with the programs USAID has made available to us, I'm more aware. I'm more educated in things like that, right? So I'm like, I have to go all in. I have to do something. I even have to go back to school to learn so many. Yeah.
Choma was really inspiring she was fun too, and we had a lot of fun in the studio. But speaking about career, some of our shows this year were focused on empowering women and girls on the continent in terms of how to prepare for workforce after graduation and, you know, elevating them to the technology world, particularly in artificial intelligence. You know, artificial intelligence is, you know, breaking. There's a lot of breakthrough in that field, but unfortunately, we don't see that many women in the field. For example, women only make up 22% of those in the profession. And from all the AI-related research papers and publications we see around the world, only 13% are presented by women. So we had guests who were telling us the need for many women in this field.
Yes. And of course, one of the shows that was also a lot of fun and also inspiring was the show about money and marriage. I remember the husband on the show saying that, you know, he understands, and they both came together with his wife to understand that they are a partner and that they can do more together, because a lot of couples do things separately when it comes to finances. You have your money, I have my money, and he realized that that was a mistake. And he said that it is really good to be partners in terms of finances. So bring your money together and do great things.
Yeah. Also, another topic was unemployment, life after graduation, and we learned how, you know, unemployment can lead to depression. You know, you have those young students who spend money and time, you know, in the hope of saving their family, and after that, nothing. So, you know.
And well, yeah, we had also guests who were able to give us tips on how to make yourself employable, how to market yourself after graduation, and when you should start doing that. Not right after graduation, but also before graduation. Networking, improving your communication skills. So, yeah. So, but we also had our own favorite shows, I know. So, Auriane, what was your favorite?
Come back to me, because there were so many.
There's so many. I know you enjoyed the cosmetics.
Cosmetic was great.
Yes.
The dancing, remember the dancing?
You guys did a dancing show. I was off that day, but I enjoyed watching that show, and you were doing the South African dance.
Yes, I mean, by now already everybody knows how much I love dancing.
But before we go there, I remember the shows when we were always making different interesting things in the studio, like bringing a guest to show us how to dress. Yeah, exactly. Remember that one? I had to put on a nice, beautiful blue suit. Yeah. So I love it when we're able to just incorporate some actual visuals to our shows, and I love when we do like exercise, food shows. I think we're gonna do a lot more of that in 2025.
Another favorite of mine was the traditional food, African food, and how they helped with healing.
Yes.
We had ginger and garlic and
Yes.
some naturally blended
Vegan
spices,
things.
vegan
Great
things.
information.
Yes. Exactly.
And Wanda also taught us about, you know, the children, teaching the children about traditional foods, that they also are going to help you growing up to know to eat the right things when you're older. So start early, teach your children to eat the right things, especially an African diet.
Another great inspiring guest we had was the Cameroonian makeup artist who is addressing challenges women with darker skin faces. And, you know, she came up with her line with great pigment, you know, really touching on those issues.
And she transformed you.
Yes, she did. Right on set.
I remember that beautiful makeup she was able to
and
put.
here I was watching like, look at that picture in the back. I was just like, okay, go ahead. Yeah. Keep talking. I want to get some of those tips because I think the makeup you have on today is also inspired by her.
Oh,
right?
yes, with those pigments. Yes. No, she was great. I mean, you know, it wasn't a cheap line. It was great. And going back to the dancing.
Well, yes, as you said, for me it was a dance, and I'm sure everyone now knows how much I love to dance. And let's show them the incredible time we had in the studio dancing the South African gumbo dance.
Kabili, hey, hey, yes, Kabili, hey, hey, come on, Kabili, hey, hey, 3 times, Kutati, hey, 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 Kutati, hey, 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 Kutati, hey.
You remember those?
You know what it reminded me when you guys were doing that? It reminded me that I used to do that in high school, like step dance.
The steps?
Yes.
The step dance?
So there is an American twist to the step dancing, so I can see where it came from.
That came out, yeah, that was a beautiful moment in the studio. Well, with that dance, we end our last show for the year 2024. Be sure to watch our voices on the VOA website and at voaafrica.com or on our YouTube channel, where you can catch up on the latest episodes and the world's top news stories. Last but not least, we thank our editorial and production team on our voices. We will see you again in 2025 with another exciting program. Until then, we wish you a very happy new year.